Hello and welcome back to episode 2 of the County Grind podcast. My name is Mike, I am hosting this episode and I'm joined once again by my co-host Zach. Say hi, Zach.
Hi, it's me again, back for more.
How you feeling, Zach? How we doing?
Yeah, good. We just got back from the first net of the season.
We did.
Landed as many in front of the stumps as went wide, so I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, most of our deliveries made it, if not to the batsman, certainly into the batting cage, which is really all we can really hope for with our prowess. I had a little knock with the bat, and I don't think I got out too many times.
No, I think there were a couple edges, but you didn't get bowled at all, did you?
So yeah, overall, complete success, I would say.
Yeah.
And it's a happy day here because the first round of the county championship season has been completed. We have cricket back again.
Woo!
That's the level of excitement we're after here. So I feel like we should address something first up, Zach.
Yeah.
Which is that we're basically psychics.
Yes.
We speculated at length last week about whether Sarah Taylor would wind up playing in the 100. We had our theories. We believed that she would, and we were proved correct almost immediately. I'm going to take full credit for this as a podcast.
Yeah.
We manifested.
We made this happen.
We did. You're welcome.
I love watching Sarah Taylor play cricket. She's just really good at it, and I can't wait.
Christmas has come early. The county championship has returned, and generally the vibe of the weekend was
Runs.
draws. Oh. Yes, both of those things. draws and runs, and they possibly followed each other. So draws dominated the weekend. 6 of the 9 games were draws. You would expect that in April. You would expect weather to play a part, but I wouldn't say it did, really. You would say only Glamorgan, Yorkshire was really weather affected.
Yeah, there were a few rain delays here and there. Like, I don't think many games went without a 20-minute spell where it snowed. Yeah. But there were never big layoffs of more than a session.
Yeah, it was portions of sessions rather than entire sessions or even entire days.
Yeah.
So only Glamorgan, you would say, would feel hard done by the weather.
Yeah, because they had the most beautiful snowfall I've ever seen.
Very picturesque. Heading is a pretty ground with the new stand they put
lovely.
in. And with the snow, it looked delightful.
Yeah.
The clash of the Root brothers. You would say Billy maybe came out on top?
Yeah, I'd say Billy won that. Maybe the first time he's ever beaten his brother at anything, but...
Well, it was a draw.
That's true.
One of the games that didn't end in a draw was Hampshire versus Leicestershire, up in Leicestershire. Do we want to dive into our predictions, the second part of our Nostradamus, which is... I don't know what the opposite of a Nostradamus is. A dummy, I guess.
It didn't get as well.
A real dum-dum. No, it did not. So, in last week's episode, we laid out our predictions, who was going to be the top scoring batsman after one round of the county championship.
And do you want to remind us who your pick was, Mike?
So I went for Sam Northeast, Hampshire batsman.
And how did he do?
He got 19 runs.
It's a good start.
I would like to defend myself with my logic was sound.
Yeah.
I predicted there would be a Hampshire player. I predicted that it would be someone on the fringes of the England team.
Yeah.
Someone who would put themselves in the frame for selection come the summer with early season runs. I should have known it would be James Vince because it's always James Vince. That felt too obvious last week, but in hindsight, yeah, it's incredibly obvious. He always does this. He's the master at playing mediocre championship sides in April.
Yeah.
And so would you like to remind our listeners of who you selected for your top pick of the round?
No, I don't think I
You don't want to mention it?
No, I don't think I'll mention it.
Well, I will mention it. So your prediction of Lewis deploy, it didn't quite come off. Would you like to tell the listeners how many runs he scored over the 2 innings he played this week?
He scored 0 runs.
In both innings, he got a pair on the opening game of the season, which isn't a great start. It's certainly some way shy of James Vince's total.
Yeah, he got 231 more runs than my pick,
So yeah, mad respect to him, really.
Good on him. I don't imagine many people scored less runs than him this week, so good on him.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I say, a lot of the games this week were draws. We're going to generally focus on the wins because they're a bit more exciting, but we should start with what we picked as our game of the week, which was Notts versus Durham at Trent Bridge. And sadly, the wait continues.
Too many days now.
But you would say there were some positives in this game for Nottinghamshire?
Yeah, there were definitely some positives in Lyndon James, especially getting good runs for a 22-year-old in his third game, as well as some key wickets. And Jake Ball was bowling well before his back gave up.
Yeah, Liam Patterson-White didn't offer as much. He had a bit of a quiet game, but he's a spinner in April.
It's April.
I don't have the list of every wicket taker this weekend, but I imagine spinners didn't take a lot.
Other than Mason Crane, who went mad with wickets.
Yes, Mason Crane did go mad with wickets, and Liam Dawson went mad with runs and a stormer of a catch off Mason Crane.
Beautiful.
One of the absolute top-notch catches that we'll see this season. But any other positives from Nottinghamshire's innings?
I mean, I can think of many positives from Durham's innings, specifically David Beddingham.
Yes, David Beddingham was spectacular. So he's come over as an overseas. He was a Kolpak last season, wasn't he? But obviously that avenue has been closed off to South African players now with Brexit. So he's in as an overseas player. Yeah, from a Notts perspective though, Tom Moore's innings was definitely a positive. He was unlucky not to get his century, ran out of partners at the other end.
It was a much more mature innings than you're used to seeing from Tom Moore's.
Yes, yeah, he has a reputation, possibly an earned reputation for being a bit of a fly-by-night dasher, most famous for his knocks in T10 and T20 cricket. Expected to do big things in the 100, but this was a much more controlled and much more composed innings. I mean, there were some big hits. He scored a lot of boundaries.
Yeah.
But he batted really well with the tail.
And that's what you need from a number 7.
That's about it with positives, I would say, from the Nottinghamshire innings. That's not entirely true. They did salvage the draw, we should say. They didn't lose this game, which they could have quite easily done at a certain point. You would have said, before Tom Moores came out to bat in that first innings, we were looking like we were staring right down the barrel of a defeat.
And having Brett Hutton join him and making a very impressive 50 on his return.
But that also leads us onto one of the negatives, which was that Ball and Hutton both went off with injuries of some sort in the second innings.
Which is a shame because Jake Ball has really picked up his form since a woeful 2019 and a bit of 2018 where his form completely plummeted. And then last season was chock full of wickets and was looking good to start that again this season. And now who knows how long he'll be off for. He didn't bowl at all in the second innings.
No, not at all. He did come out to bat in Nottinghamshire's first innings, which implies that they're not shielding him too much from everything.
No.
If he was able to bat, you wouldn't think they would risk him if it seemed like it was going to be a long-term injury that he can aggravate batting. So we'll have to see next week. Because Notts still seem to have a problem with taking the wickets of set batsmen. And I know I say that as if that's an easy thing to do. That's obviously the whole point, is that a set batsman is very difficult to get out. But there seems to be no one with the X factor in this side to take out a batsman who's faced 50-odd balls.
Yeah, once a batsman's in, you rarely have a spell of bowling where the bowler looks like they're on top of the set batsman.
Yeah, the obvious example in this game was Alex Lees, who looked on for a big score until Nottinghamshire managed a fluke run out.
Yes.
That's one thing that Nottinghamshire are always good at, is being hot in the field. That they carry that over from the limited overs setup.
Yeah.
But then, particularly in the second innings, Beddingham was rock solid. Eckersley was also managed a century, so 108 for Beddingham, 113 for Eckersley.
They really put our weakened bowling to the sword.
As we say, it's been over 1,000 days since Nottinghamshire last won a first-class game, and they don't seem to be any closer to solving the problems in a lot of ways. I mean, we've talked about the positives. I guess the membership is more likely to tolerate good displays that don't quite turn out to be wins than terrible displays that are clearly losses. But salvaging a draw from the jaws of defeat is better than just losing.
Better than losing, yeah. Points are better than no points.
Yeah, but these green shoots need to flower at some point. So this game finished in a draw, and actually all three games in this group, in Group 1, finished in draws. So this result actually leaves Durham and Nottinghamshire top of the table. Then Essex, Warwickshire, Worcestershire and Derbyshire prop up the table. Okay, moving on to Group 2, the site of James Vince's titanic score. In complete contrast to Group 1, all three games in this group ended in results.
Ooh.
The only results were all in this group, so clearly Group 2 is the one to watch. So yeah, we've already mentioned Hampshire's victory over Leicestershire. Not that a James Vince run fest isn't interesting, obviously, but you would say the more interesting games would be the other two. Do you want to start with Somerset Middlesex?
I'd love to start with Somerset Middlesex.
So obviously, big runs from Sam Robson, another player who had his time in the sun
One of the many openers England
One
used.
of many openers that England
One of
used,
the few to
certainly.
get any meaningful runs. He got 100 for playing for England.
Yeah, he's been kicking around for a long time, just
He has
churning
been
out
around a
runs.
long time.
But it wasn't enough to secure the victory, really, was it? So
No, because this Somerset team is very strong.
yes, I mean we said last week that they're probably among the favourites. Well, certainly for us, they're among the favourites for the title, along with Essex.
But they didn't look like the favourites for winning this game at the halfway mark.
Well, no, they came up against something you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy, which is Tim Murtagh in April.
Yes.
Truly a difficult assignment. But yeah, as we say, in the first innings, Sam Robson piled on that big score, 165. Tim Murtagh did what Tim Murtagh does. And it kind of looked like it might be over very quickly. Interesting to note, a useful contribution from Jack Leach at the end, a 30-odd score.
Where have we heard that before?
Exactly, where have we heard that before? You would say this is probably a more, certainly in terms of runs, this was a more useful contribution.
It's definitely a weightier contribution.
Really put a bit of belief back in that Somerset innings when it could have, the slide was definitely on, and you wonder if they'd gone in those 40, 50 runs behind.
Yes.
They would have been if he hadn't chipped in there, if Middlesex would have been able to put the boot in more and maybe force the game in their direction, but they didn't. Jack Leach stood up, which is what you want from your big players in the end. Your England players, your team leaders, you want them to stand up in those conditions, and he duly did. And then second innings, it was another team effort really. Runs for Abel, Bartlett, and Gregory, who you would say was potentially the player of the weekend, would you say? 5 for in the first innings, a match-winning score in the second. You wonder if he's going to pick up a England test call-up.
With the amount of cricket being played, you can put it past him. He's a very capable Ben Stokes replacement.
Yes.
No one is ever Ben Stokes other than Ben Stokes, but I think he's probably the next best thing in county cricket at the minute.
But moving up the M5 to Gloucestershire, who also managed a win.
Yeah, they're a real dark horse in this competition, I'd say. They're definitely ones to look out for.
They managed to defeat Surrey, which, whilst not the team that won the championship in 2018, I want to say,
Yes.
it's still a team stacked with international talent. So little mini quiz. Can you guess the number of international caps in Surrey's top 5?
Oh, I mean, you add in Hashim Amla, he's got is this just tests or all international?
This is all international cricket. You can guess the total number, and then you can guess the total number without Hashim Amla, because they're
I'm going to go for 627.
not quite that many. So there's 409
Okay.
caps between them. So just to be clear, this is Burns, Stoneman, Amla, and Pope. And Folkes, of course,
And Folkes.
is the top 5.
Yeah.
All of whom are seasoned internationals, or maybe not.
Yeah.
Some of them are more seasoned than others.
Yes.
Hashim Amla makes up 349 of those caps.
Right.
So even taking him out, that's still 60 caps combined. And then none of those, apart from Stoneman, are former internationals.
No, all very
And obviously,
current.
apart from Amla, Burns, Pope, and Folkes. Certainly, Burns and Pope will add several more caps to that. Folkes, you would think, again, will be in or around the Test squad this summer.
Yeah.
So very impressive from Gloucestershire to defeat them. Obviously, down the order as well. Reece Topley and whichever Overton brother it is.
It's Jamie.
It's Jamie Overton. Down the order, Reece Topley and Jamie Overton also provide international experience. That Surrey team is stacked with talent. And this Gloucestershire side doesn't have the same kind of name recognition, you would say. I mean, James Bracey was in the bubble last year.
Yeah, you'd say James Bracey's really the only thing close to a household name, and even then, I think 50% of cricket fans wouldn't have heard of him.
Yeah.
And Chris Dent's been around for a long, long time, and Ryan Higgins is a very impressive Ben Stokes-esque all-rounder. But you'd say there aren't many people that anyone would think of if they were making a county cricket 11 or.
No, they kind of go unnoticed. I was going to say that the only thing I really know Gloucestershire cricket for is that Chris Reed started his career there.
Yeah. I think a lot of cricketers have started their careers there.
Yes, absolutely. So if anyone wants to come and talk to me about Gloucestershire, if anyone wants to come on the podcast, any strong Gloucestershire fans want to come on the podcast and discuss their team, we are all ears because we'd like to listen, and we're very impressed with what we see. They were nearly robbed by the weather. You did wonder if they were going to get out. They needed 40 odd off 20 overs when the weather came in and prevented them.
Yeah.
So you did wonder if they were going to be robbed and they were going to have to settle for a draw, but fortunately they were able to come out and smash it off. They chased down 200 odd in less than 50 overs.
It was 229 runs in 37.1 overs, which a lot of one-day teams would be happy with, getting that many runs in 37 overs.
And all this kind of sets up what I would call a mouth-watering clash for next week, which is going to be our game of the week for next week, the one we're going to be focusing on. Because Somerset are playing Gloucestershire. I think it's in Bristol.
I'm excited for that.
So yeah, that should. I mean, you wouldn't say it's an early title decider, and obviously a West Country derby as well. We're harkening back to our familial roots. Bristol's a lovely town, though. Every time I've been to and through Bristol, I've enjoyed it immensely. So we would love to come to Bristol and record an episode of this podcast and sample your many, many bars. So yeah, hit us up, Gloucestershire fans. We are up for going to visit.
The whole county of Gloucestershire, come on the podcast, please.
Yeah, so hit us up. You can either hit us up on Twitter. We are at County Grind. We're on Instagram at County Grind Pod. We have a Gmail. It's countygrindpod@gmail.com. We certainly do.
I didn't know we had a Gmail.
Yeah, so that's countygrindpod@gmail.com. We have a YouTube channel now. So if you're listening to this on SoundCloud, go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just search County Grind up on there. We're also putting up little clips on there of our episodes. So before we sign off, give me who you think is going to top score this week.
I think you know the answer. Gareth Roderick.
Excellent. Do you know who they're playing?
He plays for Worcestershire.
Yep.
I don't think he played this week, but next week...
Is he likely to play next week?
He's going to get all the runs.
You reckon?
Oh no, he did play. He got duck.
So you've retroactively cursed Gareth Roderick.
Yeah.
You're not convinced, not happy to settle with cursing one player. You've managed to retroactively curse a second player. The power in your words is truly remarkable.
No, this time this week is Gareth Roderick's week. I guarantee it. So who are you putting forward then, if not Gareth Roderick?
I'm going to put forward Ben Folkes this week.
Okay.
He had a good innings this week, 133 this week. He's put up against Leicestershire, who we know you can milk for runs.
No, I don't think I didn't think you were wrong last week, and I don't think you're going to be wrong this week.
And it will almost certainly be James Vince again.
It will definitely be James Vince again, or it'll be Gareth Roderick. Come on the podcast.
Come on the podcast, Gareth. We'd be happy to have you. You can tell us about Gloucestershire.
Please do.
So with that, we'll leave you for this week. Have a good week, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Bye.